Hi everyone, it's Caroline. Welcome. Thank you for being here with me and sharing in this flip through that I'm going to do. I think my little magazine spine journal is complete for now, as much as I can do right now. And this all started when I watched Helen at Moss Cottage. She did a really cute spine journal, but hers was a thin one, up and down and longer. And I had this magazine. This was the original size of it. It's more of a catalog. Oh, it's upside down, but it doesn't matter. And then I just cut it. I cut it widthwise, and thought I was going to do it this way just for something different. And I followed the instructions, and I took each page and I staggered them, just ripping them very scattered and with not much thought to it. And then I started sewing and gluing, and you'll see each page. And oh, I really love the way this turned out. This was my sort of my in between, working and chores and before bedtime little piece of relaxation, I guess I'll call it. This was very relaxing, and I'm going to do it again. And I'll just show you what I did. I started with the first page, I hope. And literally, you can see it's junk. It's scraps from my desk. It's actual junk. This was a little tab that I took here and sewed on. I think that was in the first video that I did sharing a little bit of what I've done. I've added my twisted tangle, and this was inspired from Donna at Twisted Paper Studio. So that was this first page, and there's lots of threads, which I really like threads. It's not for everybody, but I enjoy it. I have a bell on there too. And it's magazines, it's scraps, it's little ends of printed paper and pieces of gift bag magazine. I've sewn on little strips and did some scraping of paint, added pieces of antique book page. I did a lot of tabs so that you can see on both sides. I've done some mark making with my gold paint magazine images that I just stuck on here. There are no thought out process here. It was literally come in and just start gluing. I looked for an empty page or an empty spot or something just to fill. And again, it's what's pleasing to my eye may not be pleasing to your eye or somebody else's eye. And I appreciate that. We appreciate each other's, individuality. Little pieces of scraps and painty scraped paper, little punched out hearts, the end of a cardstock, something that I did a button with some random threads on it and some tea bag. These do not make any sense. They're not really telling a story, but when I saw something that if I pulled a piece of paper that was a word or something then maybe I could draw a story from it. And this one here was my little bird that was inspired. This was the Bird of Love or Bird of Peace by Possum Patty. And I put it on this page because when it just seemed to fit this page here. And little odds and ends from my ephemera journal that I really wasn't going to use anywhere else, so it came on here. And I also have scraps of paper from some rejected printed papers because my ink was running out, but I didn't want to throw it away, so I put it in here, which was a great spot to save it. This is so cute. This dog, I had cut out the face of this dog's head quite a while ago, and he popped out of a sleeve, and I thought he has to go on here. I have some of my book page. I have some scraped paint on here, part of a vintage page here. And then the happy birthday, this was an ad in a magazine, so I put the hat on and I thought that was so cute. This is what I meant. These words here I had cut out, tell me about it, and I just feel like his face is really, he's like, tell me about it, you know, it's, they always dress me up kind of thing. And, you know, I made some ruffles, some paper ruffles, and sewed that on this page. Some pages I have a little bit more words, and this is really just collage. It really doesn't show anything. I like the colors. Tea bag, magazine, just all scraps and glued in there. I did a little bit of stamping. I had a stamp. I was doing something and stamped off. A little tiny little scrap of fabric. So I saved it and I just put it on here. I did some gold, my threads just wherever they landed, and I glued. I had a few little they're stickers, but they're like little jewels. Flat back. And then so I had some of those and I put them on my doily. I had this little scrappy cluster that I had made. I put one of my little flowers on, and some of the jewels. That's from the dollar store. I've had those for years. Put that on. And, you know, I like some of the words I kept from the magazine too, because they just kind of came through the paint or whatever I was doing. This one here, yeah, this one was a little more intentional, but they were all together. This hat I had cut out. I had cut out a page of hats. So you'll see some hats. These glasses were from a different mat. They're all from different places. These were punched out circles from my berry dyed papers. This sentiment, have a lovely day. This was in my words, my little words case that I keep them in. Did some stamping and I just did some doodling, and that's how that turned out. And I made her lips really pink because she was very natural looking before I added these little embellishments to her. So that was, I just had a fun time with that. A little mini collage. They're all mini collages. This little bunny, he was in a magazine. Some printed papers that were not very useful for anything, but in here they're great. Magazine, little cutouts, threads. This was from Peter Rabbit or Beatrix Potter book that I have, so I took that out because I did something else with it. Oh, I just kept ripping, kept on tearing. And then here I have some of my granddaughter. I made her a couple of my granddaughter's cards, and I had some leftover images, so I put those on here with the hat. A little bit of scrappy ribbon that I put on. And this was a bag of cough drops. I had that in my stash forever. I actually did some journaling because it was before bed, so I had a few things I wanted to jot down. So I made that into a pocket. This little fish here with the number 1. This is actually August the 1st that I made this. And this I've got from Jill at Jilly Bean Studio. And her her giveaway on her Ko-fi page, if you go see that she has all her numbers for August. So that was number 1. Then I just made a couple of tags and did some journaling. There's number 2 because that was for August the 2nd also. I just talked about what I was doing, and then another tag that I made with the scraps from here, and literally there it is. I love it. It's just so fun. Some of my mom's scarf that I've been cutting up and using, so I put that in there. Then here is a sticker that I made from magazine images, and some dots that I used the end of my cork, and I put that on there. Another little Beatrix Potter image. Some black magazine page, and then I took my paint pen and did some doodling on that one. And then I have some hearts. You'll see hearts in throughout here because I love hearts, and I have a heart punch. It's about the only big punch I have, so I go to town with that. and some stamping. There's the rabbits. It's an advertisement for something. It's not rabbit food, but it's something else. I can't even think of what it is. This was very purple to me, so it just evoked that all the purple things around me came on here. A little bit more of some, what do you call that? Ruffle? Paper ruffle? That was fun. And I just keep doing that because the textures are great with the paint. Scrap, all scraps. You know, I have my tea bag tag here. Left all the scrappy ends. This was done with some, it was white paint or gesso or both, I'm not sure. And just did some magazine images on there. This one is, oh, this one here I tied, and it's coming loose a bit. I guess I have to give it a better tie. And I used the little cutout heart to loop that around and just put some bells. I found these bells, I was cleaning a drawer out. And so this is where they ended up, and I like that. Cut out pieces that I think I was saving for something, and this is what it ended up, how I ended up using it. I did some I did some watercolor marks, and then I ended up making them as flowers with my pen, cutting them out. This was inspired from Julie Torrens, and I had wanted to do it along with her, but I forgot about it, and then I remembered that I wanted to do it, and I did it on just a page that, this was done on a book page, a nice feeling book page, and anyway, that's how I did that. A piece of junk paper was an envelope, and I did some slow stitching around it, and I wanted to keep the threads there that way, and again, and on just collage and paint, and oh, that's all I want to do. Back to my childhood. Here are the hats. There's Mona Lisa, and she's wearing a sun hat. We have in the background, I kept this page with this hot tub or whatever it is here in the background. There's the word water, and this just happened. It just happened this way. Flower, magazine page, this little bear with a sun hat. This is from Jovi, from Creating with Jovi. That was from one of her kits. And I had bought a kit to make little girl cards, little children's cards. And I had some leftovers. Another tag that I made. And here we have the negative of the heart, and I just cut around it and made, you know, that little piece there, and a scene of a beach, and I kept that. Did some more paint and some more leftovers from one of the kits that I had. A door that I used as a tuck spot, and then I had made this little fairy, and I put a sun hat on her, and I just did it on this piece of scrap mailing, junk mail. We have a feather that found a place on this page, one of my graffiti rolls. Also, I have some stamping that I did, some more stamping, lots of thread on here. Oh, this one, the thread was the end of a spool, and I just so happened to have this page open, and this is where it ended up, and it found its place there, which I love the feel. No special glue either. I was going to use my art, not my art, but the the Fabri-Tac. But I had lots of time, and I usually, when I'm gluing something, I'll leave the page open and let it dry overnight. So I just used my cheap Elmer's glue, and that was perfect. I didn't have to rush through that gluing process. There's a heart, lots of paint, a tab. And I also used my gold. I have it right here. I'm going to show it to you. It's from the dollar store. It's glitter paint. This is actual glitter paint. So sometimes I call it, I do have a shimmer spray, and I get them mixed up, but this is definitely glitter. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, so that's pretty. It's fun to use. Something I had to let dry overnight. Some more images, some that I hadn't used, but they found a place in this book. This is a tag, a clothing tag. I literally stuck on some highlighter marker and glued it on as a ruffle. Pieces of magazine. Here is the corner of an envelope with a stamp. I put that on there. And I left the hand that was originally on, like, this is original page here. So it kind of just worked out that way. This one, you can see the chunk that I took out of that one. And original, no, it's not. This is not original. This is a piece of beach that I really liked, and I put that on. And I just kept going with my dyed. This is berry dyed papers. This here is a butterfly that I attempted to cut out, and you know, it just all worked. I did some mark making on here. An envelope top its way to the wastebasket, but I put it up here. I just glued it on. That's why it doesn't look like a very nice butterfly, but I just cut that out myself and put that on here. I added this strip of my porch painted cotton. This was out of the latest design team project that I did. I had this lady left and she found her home here. Painting page. A lot of tongue twisters. Another scrap of pillowcase, or it could be a placemat. I'm not sure. It's all, I just have scraps of cotton fabric, old cotton fabric that I had stains on. Some cutouts from magazine, some zigzagging on that. Another one of the flowers on my book page. My mom's scarf. Happy yo-yo that was hanging around forever. A ruffle. Just some doodling. Piece of vintage pool scene. And this just reminds me of my childhood because our pools were square and it just looks like my pool we used to go to. That's probably why I cut it out. Some of my scrappy wax paper I put on there. So I use that with magazine and the letter E for every day. Excellent. I don't know, whatever you want. A piece of, this is not ribbon, but this is a tag that was inside a piece of clothing, and that's what I turned it into. My little nighttime, my graffiti, my lacy graffiti paper that I made. This page has, this is my, out of my window, a scene, winter scene from here on the hillside. I did, this was some paper that had some stains on it. I actually flicked on some of my silver shimmer spray, and you can see some, I don't know if you can or not, but there's some little spatter there. Made in Canada. That was a little piece of from a magazine. I put that on. Here we are with another one of my flowers. They actually found a couple of pages on here. Some of my graffiti roll. This one doesn't have that much going on either, but you know, sometimes it's fine. You don't have to. I had the top of a yogurt. Grandson was eating it, and we looked at it to throw it in the garbage, and it had this on the back of it: success is not final, failure is not fatal. Wow, I love that sentiment, and I took it with me. That was from our daughter's place. I took it home, washed it, took it home. This right over here is a body of a racer, and I put her head on that body, and I like the way that looked. And here's some scrappy paper left over. I did a stamp on it. did some painting or some splotching. Then I added some collage on here. I left the picture of this man and I put a heart over his face. And I did some mark making, and I'm not sure if you can see it, but this heart I cut it out. This was very unintentional and it just happened. And I had the heart and I was going to put it over here and I saw a face in the heart. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there was these 2 marks, but I did turn them into eyes. I put the little dots and some eyelashes. There was this stain here and it looked like the mouth. I made it darker with the marker, but there was a bit of a shape here that like the nose. So this this piece of wax paper and heart had a face in it, so I had to put that in there. I left this because this was part of the book. It says free materials used, whatever, and I like the way that peeks out because these are free materials. This is a little tag that I had made for one of our grandson's shower, and I added some broken jewelry on here, and I just used this ruffle. It's very, very light, so you have to sort of hold on to it, but that just hangs out there. This must be the jewelry section because so this picture here, this was funny. A tag from my shirt, my blouse. Oh, I made it into, oh, that's the other side. And then a scrap of ribbon, little heart, magazine page that I put onto the original page. Then on this side, I have my photos, my own photos. These were scraps left over from, I think from Junk Journal July. And I added here, home is where the art is. And a piece of handmade paper, a tag that I put together with some scraps, and I did some journaling. And this is the last page, which is magazine, paper, magazine, and I just collaged them all together. I made a little tab with scrap, did some green dots on there, and the back, Mosaic Cultures Quebec 2022, that was last year, and it's called A Grandiose Story Told by 6 Million Flowers, and so that's what it is. So that's where I put the rest of that page. I knew it was somewhere. And then I used one of my stencils that our daughter made, and I just did some fun little staining on that. And I just found this too, the unique word. I had cut that out, so I put that on here because it's very unique. I don't think anybody else is going to have one that looks like this. Oh my gosh, you have to make one of these. I think you'll have so much fun. Oh, I had so much fun making it. I can't wait to start again, and I will. I'm going to use the rest of this book. Well, I really appreciate everyone for coming along, for sending wonderful, wonderful messages, and, you know, for being crafty and being inspirational. I am so grateful, and I hope everyone has an amazing week. We're just starting our week. Be crafty, be adventurous, be fresh, and I will see you very soon. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.